Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Business Africa. I am Afolake Oyinloye. The top stories this week. Congolese economic situation worsens. Reserves can only cover 3 weeks of imports. Agriculture becomes a cornerstone of Angola's economic diversification. Morocco's debatable plan to strengthen ties with sub-Saharan Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo, Africa's first copper producer, is going through a decline in economy due to the fall in global demand of raw materials. Inflation is now at 50%, and the Congolese franc has lost 30% of its monetary value. In fact, as it stands, the country's current exchange reserve can only cover 3 weeks of imports. Stéphane Cougnier and Elvis Beau with the details.
Despite its enormous natural resources, the Democratic Republic of Congo is going through serious economic crisis. According to the central bank, the country's current exchange reserves stand at approximately $706 million, which can only cover 3 weeks of imports. The devaluation of the Congolese franc, which lost 30% of its value this year, as well as inflation, which increased to almost 41%, contributed in creating a tense political climate. According to the World Bank, a fall in global demand for raw materials has led to a slowdown of economic activity in the DR Congo. The growth rate of Africa's first copper producer, whose mining and petroleum sectors represent 95% of export revenues, dropped on average from 7% in 2015 to 2.5% in 2016. In efforts to handle lack of foreign currency, Kinshasa recently called on foreign mining companies to repatriate at least 40% of their revenues from mineral exports.
Stéphane Cougnier is with me on set to discuss more on the DRC. Stéphane Cougnier, it's good to have you on set, particularly because you did a story on DRC's economic crisis. But now, in your opinion, do you think this crisis is due to the political issues going on in the country?
Afolake, your question seems difficult, but will help us to understand development-related aspects in Africa. Sometimes we are tempted to associate economic development in Africa to the political climate. The DRC is not an exception. You are aware that many in the DRC have been requesting the departure of President Joseph Kabila so that free and transparent elections can be organized before the end of the year. For now, prices of raw materials keep increasing. As you indicated, Kinshasa is the #1 producer of copper in the world, but has been affected following a fall in the prices of raw materials in the world market. This situation has led to a decrease in foreign exchange reserves, even though DRC authorities insist the situation has a little impact in their ability to balance the budget.
Now, do you think the authorities are doing, what are they doing to get out of this crisis? What are the moves they're making?
2 months ago, Kinshasa sought the assistance of Western donors and the IMF. For now, the aid is not yet a reality because donors think real political reforms must be implemented first. However, it should be noted that these few reforms suggested by authorities will strengthen governance and transparency in the forestry, mining, and oil sectors. The country participates in the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative and publishes regular reports on the revenues of natural resources. But according to the World Bank, the government needs to look into modalities used in awarding contracts in the petroleum, mining, and forestry sectors.
Now, let's look at Angola, the relationship between Angola and the DRC. The DRC is to become the first foreign policy priority for the new government in Angola. What's your take on this, and how would that affect the economic situation in the country?
Très bonne question, Afolake. Écoutez, globalement, on peut dire que les deux pays partagent. Generally, we can say that the two countries share a 1,600 kilometers common border There are similarities in the culture of the two countries. However, there are aspects which need to be looked into, like the solving of the conflict in North Kivu with the help of Angolan authorities. I think there could be continuity through reinforcing such bilateral relations. Several cooperation agreements already exist in the domain of transport and energy. I'm thinking about the Katanga-Dilolo-Lobito Railway, which can be used to transport mineral resources in the DR Congo. Let me also mention the Inga Dam, which could be useful for the two countries.
Well, thank you very much for coming on set.
You're welcome.
Well, we'll be going to Angola once again this week, where the country is looking at making a major effort in diversifying and boosting agriculture. Some experts say that Angola has the potential of becoming one of the leading agricultural countries in Africa. More right after this break.